History is full of moments when everything looked completely over. Empires fell apart, armies were wiped out, leaders were humiliated, entire nations stood on the edge of collapse. In those moments, defeat felt final. The world moved on, convinced the story had reached its end. But again and again, history tells a different story. Sometimes what looks like the end is actually the beginning of one of the greatest comebacks ever recorded. So how did entire societies rise back up when all hope seemed lost? What separates the powers that disappear from history from the ones that come back stronger than ever? The answer isn't luck. It isn't destiny. It's strategy, leadership, and the ability to adapt when the pressure is at its highest. When a society collapses, the damage goes far beyond the battlefield. It becomes psychological. Morale is shattered. Resources run dry. Allies abandon ship. Enemies close in. Inside the nation, fear spreads, trust erodes, and people begin to believe that resistance no longer matters. And once that belief takes hold, recovery feels impossible. The consequences are brutal. Economies fall apart. Trade disappears, cities empty out, political systems weaken, making the state vulnerable to foreign control or internal chaos. At that point, it's no longer about winning, it's about survival, about not being erased from history altogether. And this is where everything comes down to a single choice. Stick with the same ideas that caused the collapse, or accept that the old way no longer works. Most leaders fail right here. They cling to tradition, pride, or fear of change. But the societies that eventually pull off historic comebacks do something different. They face reality head-on. They admit failure. And they understand that admitting failure isn't weakness, it's the first step toward transformation. That realization opens the door to change. New leaders rise, or old ones reinvent themselves. Institutions are restructured. Power shifts hands. Military tactics evolve. Political alliances are rethought. Economic priorities are reset. Not because it's easy, but because there's no other option left. And this is where every great comeback truly begins, with adaptation. Defeated powers study their enemies instead of dismissing them. They adopt new technologies, new strategies, new ways of organizing people and resources. Progress is slow, painful, and filled with setbacks. Nothing happens overnight. But each small adjustment strengthens the foundation for recovery. Early wins are rarely dramatic. A stabilized economy, a successful reform, a defensive victory instead of another crushing loss. These moments don't change the world right away, but they change something just as important: belief. Confidence starts to return among leaders, among soldiers, among everyday people. For the first time in years, a future feels possible again. And that shift in mindset fuels the next step forward. The resistance never stops. Rivals try to crush the comeback before it gains momentum. Internal divisions test the limits of unity. Resources remain scarce, and mistakes are costly. But history shows that persistence during this phase is everything. Comebacks aren't built on one heroic moment. They're built on sustained effort over time. And then, eventually, the turning point arrives. A decisive battle, a major political shift, a diplomatic breakthrough that changes the balance of power. Suddenly, the impossible becomes undeniable. The defeated power isn't just surviving anymore, it's winning. The world is shocked, not because the comeback happened overnight, but because no one believed it could happen at all. The narrative flips. The former victim becomes a force once again, and the impact goes far beyond that moment. Borders are redrawn, alliances shift, entire regions feel the consequences for generations. These comebacks reshape global power and redefine what resilience really looks like on a historical scale. The biggest lesson from all of this is simple but powerful. Defeat is rarely final. History doesn't remember those who never fell. It remembers those who rose after falling. The societies that endure aren't the ones that avoid failure at all costs. They're the ones that respond to failure with intelligence, courage, and adaptability. These stories aren't just about the past. They're reminders that decline doesn't decide destiny. That even when resources are limited and the odds are overwhelming, decisions still matter. Strategy still matters. Leadership still matters. And history proves one lasting truth. Defeat is not the end, unless you stop adapting.